Jason adjusted his tie, glancing at the clock on his office wall. It was the last interview of the day, and he was ready to wrap things up. His company, a rapidly growing marketing firm, had been looking for a senior strategist, and he had spent the entire day meeting candidates. The assistant knocked on his door and peeked in. "Sir, the last candidate is here." Jason nodded, flipping through the resume without paying much attention to the name. "Send them in." The door opened, and as soon as the candidate stepped inside, time seemed to slow. His fingers, which had been tapping idly on the desk, stilled. His breath hitched for just a second before he masked his emotions. Emily, his ex-wife. She looked almost the same as she did 3 years ago. Polished, confident, dressed in a sleek black blazer with her hair tied in a professional bun. But as soon as her eyes met his, all the color drained from her face. The folder in her hands trembled slightly, and she took an uncertain step forward. Jason watched the emotions flicker across her face. Shock, disbelief, and then sheer panic. He let her process it for a moment before finally breaking the silence. "Ms. Carter," he said smoothly, as if she were just another candidate. "Please have a seat." Emily hesitated. For the first time in her life, she looked unsure of herself. She finally sat, gripping the edges of her folder like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. I didn't know you worked here," she finally managed to say. Jason leaned back in his chair, tilting his head slightly as he studied her. "Work here?" A slow smirk formed on his lips. "I own this company, Emily." Her eyes widened, and he saw the way her throat bobbed as she swallowed. Jason knew exactly what was going through her mind. The last time they had been together, he was just a struggling entrepreneur barely keeping his startup afloat. Meanwhile, she had wanted luxury, security, things he couldn't give her at the time. That was why she had betrayed him. That was why she had chosen someone else. "Well," Jason said, flipping through her resume with mock interest. "This is unexpected." Emily remained quiet, clearly shaken. Jason decided to let her sit in that discomfort for a little longer. "You have experience," he said after a moment. "Let's talk about that. Why did you leave your last position?" Emily straightened, trying to regain her composure. "Company downsizing," she answered. But Jason could hear the lie in her voice. "Downsizing?" Jason echoed, tapping his fingers against his desk. "Interesting." She flinched at the knowing tone in his voice. She knew that he knew. He must have kept tabs on her, just as she had secretly kept tabs on him. She had lost everything after their divorce. Her relationship, her financial stability, her reputation. The man she had left Jason for, Mark, had seemed like the perfect choice back then. He was wealthy, successful, and everything Jason wasn't at the time. But soon after their affair turned into a real relationship, Emily realized the truth. Mark was controlling, manipulative, and worst of all, unfaithful. By the time she saw her mistake, it was too late. Jason had moved on, and she had been left to pick up the pieces of her shattered life. Now, sitting across from him, she realized just how far he had come, and how far she had fallen. "Jason," she whispered. This isn't personal." He cut her off, his voice calm but firm. "This is business, and in business, trust is everything." Emily inhaled sharply, knowing exactly what he meant. She had broken his trust once, and now it was costing her an opportunity she desperately needed. Jason stood, buttoning his suit jacket, signaling that the interview was over. "I appreciate your time," he said, his tone polite but distant. "Good luck with your job search." Emily opened her mouth as if to say something, but then closed it again. She stood slowly, gripping her folder tighter. With a slight nod, she turned and walked toward the door. Jason watched as she left, feeling no anger, no bitterness, only closure. 3 years ago, she had walked away from him thinking she had won. Today, he was the one walking away knowing he had.